And as I mentioned earlier, on Friday, Ed from the band popped in and we had a really nice chat, and we're going to play you a segment of the interview every day this week. And as Richard, who works on the show, says, how did you describe yourself?
Casual fan.
He's a casual Radiohead fan, so he's not an Uber fan. And you were fascinated by the interview. There was a lot of stuff in there that you learned about the band and things like that. So it's going to be every day this week. Just before we play you the track, we'll play you a little clip from the interview. And the first thing I chatted to Ed about was obviously the whole idea behind the album and why they decided to release In Rainbows like that.
We wanted to get it out quickly. That's the initial thing. And there was this whole discussion about, you know, music now. There's a whole generation of people out there who don't actually pay for their music. And rightly or wrongly, and I'm not being judgmental about it, it's just that's the way it is or whatever. And so we wanted to sort of bring that whole thing into it as well. And so the naming of the, you know, Pay What You Want was an idea that came from our managers. I mean, the whole idea came from the management, and they basically, there was a restaurant apparently in Manhattan where, you know, you have the meal and you ask the bill and they say, well, how much do you think it's worth?
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is a great idea. The difference is, of course, you know, at a restaurant you can see the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
Online people can do runners, you know. And it was that, and also our records have been leaked a lot. You know, every record since OK Computer's been leaked, and Tom's record, The Eraser, was leaked way up front. So we wanted to just try and avoid that.
Yeah.
And we were out of contract, so it all kind of, you know, the stars are in alignment.
Now, all week we're hearing from Ed from the band. Yesterday, we heard about the whole idea about why they wanted to release the album digitally earlier on this year. Today, I kind of wanted to know about how do Radiohead sit down and write a song?
What usually happens is that Tom has a series of songs, and they can be either fully formed or very sketchy. And we go back into our rehearsal studio, which is the same one that we've been in since the Benz. It's a converted.
Brilliant.
Well, it's not. It's an Apple storage shed. It's like a metal box, and we go in there, make a racket, and then go into the studio. And we've got our own studio now, so we sort of work stuff out there, and it sort of evolves like that. But it just takes time, you know. And the thing is, we've all had families, you know. We've all got young families, and it's not like you can give the amount of, you know, you can't give the amount of time that you normally have given in the past. So it just has taken longer, and we took a year off. So starting again, it's like you've got to build up the momentum, the inertia. You know, you've got to get to know one another again, and all that stuff. So it's kind of a bit like it's like a big stew, you know. It's kind of when it's bubbling.
A bit like a school reunion in a way, is it? Sort of, you know, kind of. It's a bit like.
Yeah. Well, school plays a big part in this band as well, because we formed at school, you know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the strengths of it. But one of the frustrating things about it is that it'll always go back to 1985. There'll always be sort of certain structures that were set in stone then. You might be fighting it, but you know.
It's in your blood.
Exactly.
What I love about this album is it's a real amalgamation of the things that Radiohead do brilliantly. It's the rock side, but also those incredible electronic influences kind of married together on this album, I think. With the single, why did you pick this particular single to release, and is there a story behind it? Who picks the singles?
Who picks the singles? Well, we don't actually pick the singles.
Okay.
No, I mean we kind of unless we have a very strong opinion about it. But what people play, I mean, nowadays it's about what people play on the radio, I think, and so, you know, we're probably not the best judges of that. So we leave that to our very good friends who help us out on that. Kevin does that.
Kevin, who's in the room.
Kevin,
Hi,
who does that for us.
Merry Christmas.
And our management, and basically get a feedback. And this song was actually the last song to make it on the album. We had 16 songs, and it nearly didn't make it onto the record. And ironically, it's the first single. So, you know, I like this song because it's Tom kept on saying it's a Friday night record. This is the whole thing about it is you're in the pub, it's all kicking off. You've had a few drinks. It's the end of the week. You've just got paid.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. And
you want to have a dance.
Yeah, you want to have a dance. You see a girl in the corner. You've had a few drinks. You smile. It's a look. You know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love this song. It's a real Friday night. I kept on, you know, remembering what Friday nights were like.
But when I spoke to Ed, it was one thing that I wanted to ask him about, because outdoor gigs, it seems the best place for Radiohead, really.
Nature and us goes well, you know, although they're very open gigs.
Yeah.
I think we're doing what with Victoria Park for London.
Glasgow Green, Manchester, Lancashire Cricket Ground.
Exactly, so they're very urban, but you'll get a sky, you know, there'll be a sky, and sunsets and all that stuff. You know, I like going to outdoor gigs, you know, but as long as they're not kind of like stadiums, I'm not kind of fond of those ones, but the Glastonburys and the kind of the parks, if you...
Yeah. Warn you about Scotland, though. It doesn't get that dark in the summer.
Really?
Yeah. I remember Coldplay moaning about that, going, we spent a fortune on lights and it doesn't get dark in Scotland. So just to warn you, you might want to think about that as well. Festivals this summer then, have you got any confirmed? Glastonbury is the obvious question.
Don't know about Glastonbury. UK festivals and the other ones, I don't think so, because we're going to be over in America.
Okay.
But we're going to do some European. We're doing Roskilde, I think it's confirmed, and Hurricane and Southside. We did V a couple of years ago, so we're kind of like, we're festied, you know, it's time for our own shows, you know.
Yeah, definitely. How on earth do you pick a set list?
Well,
I was just, I mean, I can't believe it's OK Computer is 10 years old.
I know. It's really, what's good is we usually play 2 nights in a venue, so we can actually play different sets each night. So that's cool. But we have, Phil, Tom and I do the set list. And before a big gig, the setlist meeting can go on for about 3 hours. And,
it's a bit like bingo.
Yeah, and you know, it'll start off like, you know, Tom will go like, okay, tonight we're not going to play anything from OK Computer. We're going to play all the hard stuff, you know. And you go, okay, all right. And then you have arguments. You say, don't be stupid. Of course you've got to play Paranoid Android. You know, don't be ridiculous. You know, 20,000.
You want to leave the venue alive?
Exactly. Come on, these poor people have come all this way, and you're gonna play some obscure songs from a B-side. Okay, so there is actually an art to it. You want people to listen, and you want to push them a bit, but you also want to reward them for listening. So it's about dropping the songs at the right time, and also it's also about a flow. It's about, you know, you want people to have those gigs when there is a sort of the band and the audience where you feel like anything is possible, and you know, those ones where the tops of your head comes off, and it's like, it's almost religious. So you're trying to work towards that as well. But
I suppose as well, different venues in different parts of the world, you can tailor it towards that for the you know, what the crowd are kind of.
Scotland, you know, you got to play it fast. You got to you know,
they just want to have a good time.
Yeah, man, they're brilliant. You know, I think it's the best place to start a tour. You know, if you're feeling slightly insecure, head up to Scotland and play a really sort of punky set. Yeah. So yeah, they're different places.
The back catalogue of Radiohead's material albums is being re-released on Monday, so if this is your first introduction to Radiohead and you're like, wow, I really like this, then you can go back and buy the albums. And it was one thing I asked Ed when I spoke to him last week, was like, if he was a fan, where would he start?
I'd start with the Bends. Yeah, I think that would be the one. If you're young, I think when I haven't heard that record for about 5 years, but I remember when I did, it was like, put it on in the car and it's like, wow.
We're pretty good.
Yeah, you know, but also there's an energy there that we don't have anymore. And there was a real sort of backs to the wall. We knew when we made that record that, you know, people had said we got one song and that's it. And they were kind of right. If you took Pablo Honey on face value, but we had these songs and it's like, right, we had a year and a half of honing these songs on the road. And yeah, I think that's a good one to start with. And then, you know, whatever one you want to pick after that.
Yeah.
I think chronologically, I think they work quite well as well. I think you definitely see a sort of a movement towards older men.
And fatherhood.
Fatherhood, exactly.
It just feels like, I don't know, you feel like you've got a new lease of life. Does it feel like that with the band as well?
Absolutely. We needed to make a record that was concise. We needed to make a record that, you know, moved people. And when Tom came when we started to work on this record, the first thing that we had that I noticed were these lyrics. And these lyrics are about the human condition. They're about the human spirit. It's about perennial emotions. They're things that people have felt through all ages. And I felt he was really connecting. It's been a while that he's done that, I think. And his vocal, you know, on the Eraser, his vocal was very upfront. And it's like, okay, I haven't heard him do that for a while. Yeah. So, yeah, we're really energized. We had a lot of working out in the last 2.5 years whether we wanted to carry on doing this. You know, there's no point carrying on if you're just not feeling it.
Well, so the question did come up whether...
Oh, yeah, massively. It's, in a way, I guess it'll always continue to do so, and I think that's quite a good thing. It's kind of like, you know, can we do this again? I mean, it's hard work doing it. It's hard work making it. That's what it is. It's hard work making a record. You have to put a lot of time in. It's very emotional. Are you willing to go there again? And the way we've released it has given us a huge lease of life. You know, the download stuff was really exciting, and it kind of just, it's freed us all up, and we're doing webcasts at the moment. Yeah. And just having fun, and we're back in the studio playing songs, but we're not playing our own songs. We're doing cover versions.
Really?
Yeah, and it's been great.
What covers have you been doing?
We did Headmaster Ritual Smith's We did Björk track, and I can't remember the name of it. It's off Homogenic. I'm really bad on names. We did Ceremony New Order.
Yeah.
We're going to probably do a Susie and the Banshees track next week. We're going back into the studio.
Are you going to do these live?
Who knows? Yeah,
That would be brilliant.
I'd be great to be able, because we used to do stuff. We used to do Nobody Does It Better, the Carly Simon song.
Yeah.
And we used to just occasionally drop these things, and it's a really nice thing to do. But the important thing is just to keep playing. And also, by playing other people's songs, you don't have the pressure of trying to come up with your own thing. Every time we sort of get together to do material, there seems to be new material. There seems to be incredible pressure to come up with, a really good song immediately. So
cutting edge, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
And we just have to relax back into it, and that's all. What we're doing is just rediscovering the sort of the joy and the fun of doing it.
Brilliant. And we've also been hearing from Ed all week, which has been really nice. Everything from how they pick set lists to, the moment where they considered not continuing as a band to outdoor gigs that they got planned for next June. And just kind of reflecting today with him on things that he's loved this year, music that he's been really, really loving. And it just so happens it's one that we might well have just played. This
year, I think the Kings of Leon record is just amazing. I went to see them live at Hammersmith. It was a Friday night gig, and it just blew me away. It was just, incredible. There are lots of stuff. I mean, like the Klaxons excite me. I don't know them enough. I haven't seen them live. But I find that I have to sort of go and see these bands live. That's when it's like, for me, I couldn't really, I'm a huge fan of Kings of Leon. I love the first two records, and I wasn't feeling the record. I saw it live, and it's like, it's undeniable. Go back and listen to it. And it's like, okay, I've totally got it. So I'm a bit slow. I need to sort of,
No, I think it's right. I've had that as well with a lot of people. I remember Jamie T listening to his stuff and not really getting it, and then going live and going, right, yeah, I do.
Totally.
And you listen to it in a completely different way, like you say.
Yeah, and often, it was always said about our first record as well. I think it's hard with debut records for bands to get it totally right, and they're usually better live than they are on record. And it was certainly the case with us as well. And that's a good thing, because you shouldn't have all the answers on your first record.
The album's coming out physically on New Year's Eve, 31st December. What you got planned for New Year's Eve?
I have no idea.
I quite fancied going against the grain and going to bed at 10:30 this year or something.
I've done that the last 2 years, having small kids. Yeah, man, it's just...
There's so much pressure on having a good time on New Year's Eve.
I know,
do you know what? I'm off to bed. I'm going to watch the Hoot and Annie in bed.
Yeah, I used to find New Year's Eve really sad as well. I was one of those morose New Year's. I wasn't a good New Year's Eve. I wasn't like, wee. I was like, I think about the previous year and all the things and all the people I'd known and, all that stuff. I always, when it came to midnight, I traditionally would always go and sort of find a quiet space, and just everyone was giving it Auld Lang Syne, and I was like being a little pensive. Yeah.
Well, Happy New Year when it comes.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas. And the single's out on January the 14th. Ed, thank you so much for coming in. Top rate this week then from Radiohead. It's Jigsaw, following it with this.